Hi guys, good morning all of you. I hope all of you can hear me. Anyone guys, can you please confirm? Is I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Right guys, just give me a second. Right, yeah. So guys, let's continue from the last discussion guys. So yesterday we have some small technical issue. So we have been got disconnected and even there is a lot of voice breakdown was there. So maybe we have been not able to completely done the discussion yesterday with a complete discussion, but no worries. But we have been got discussed like what is data science we have been got discussed and what is machine learning we have been got discussed guys. So here there is one small change guys. There are some people who has been joining the last week, the previous week, and whatever the people who are the participant who has been joining the this week guys. Only 2 days the demos has been got taken. So I have been started with the class was started in the last week, guys. Last week means the first previous week also it was started, but that is just an intro classes only. So only just 1 week classes has been happened, guys. In that, just a basics of Python, just to make because the people who has been joined in the yesterday's or day before yesterday's class this last 2 days, so they will be little bit confused like what I'm trying to discuss here. So I just started with some introduction to Python, guys. It's very simple introduction only, guys. There is nothing is there, just only introduction to Python. I just started with just a basic concepts of Python, guys. Learning Python is very easy. So if you're already having the idea, well and good, there is no problem, guys. So if you don't have any idea also, I'm going to share you the recording videos. My team will all obviously share the recording videos. You can just go through the recording videos and we can cover those particular sessions, guys. Okay. So I'll show you like what are the videos are there. I'll show you the drive ones. So once if we can get the access to the drive, you can just go through those recording videos. But if you want to get the access to the recording videos, the people who has been registered for the course, who are going to register for the course, those will get the access to the drive, guys. So the guys who want to just go forward with this particular with this course, so you do the registration process, and then once you have done the registration, guys, you are going to get the access to the drive so that you can go through the all the whatever the previous recording sessions are there. You can just go through the recording session. Just 1 hour if you sit on the system, guys, we can cover all the videos. So hardly we have taken 50 minutes, 45 minutes class per day because in the first week. So those topics, just a small ideas, guys. I'll just tell you like what are the different types of data types in Python? What are the different types of data types in Python? Apart from that, I also has been discussed a little bit idea about a list concept. A little bit idea about a list concept. No need to worry about them because all these topics will be getting repeated in the coming classes repeated times. Or if you feel that if there is something missing, you can just go through the recording videos and you can just study the concepts of the list. Nothing is there, guys. Anybody can learn the list concept. It's very easy and very simple. List is a collection of values. That's it. That is the only thing which we have been got discussed in the last class. And after that, I have been started with a little bit concept about object-oriented programming. What is OOPS concept says? What is exactly the OOPS concepts? Why? Because the Python is also one of the object-oriented programming language. It also follows the object-oriented style of programming. So to make you understand that particular concept of object oriented, I have been just discussed about a little bit idea about what is object oriented, what is a class. It just a small introduction was happened. So today also I'll discuss about that. And you guys, if you want if you want to learn a little bit more and more, I'll tell you some resources. So from that particular resources, you have to tell. Only basics are required, guys. Only the basic concepts of object oriented is required. So the style, what is a notation of object oriented only, we have to discuss it, guys. So in the last class, I've just taken a small introduction to object oriented. It is not yet completed. So what is object oriented says is, once again, a quick reply, a quick discussion. What is object oriented programming says is, everything we have to treat it as an object. It's an object oriented. So everything in that particular object oriented language, we have to treat everything as an object. Every object is created from a class, like we have been discussed. Like for example, I want to work with a set of students. So instead of declaring the variables for each and every student, so simply we have to define a class which is going to be a student class. So we are defining a specification about a student class, which is going to be student. What is the class here now? The class is going to be nothing but it is just a specification. What is the specification about your object is nothing but your class. So class student, every student will have a ID. We have a name. Let us say that it is M1, M2, M3. Let us say that there are going to be some marks of the students. So this is the specification about a student. Same as it is. Let us say that we are working for a, let us say that for a school project. So which is going to be class teacher. In that also we can have a ID, we have a name, but I'm taking some values like what is basic salary, what is going to be HRA, and what is going to be the tax. So whenever we are working with a student object, whenever we are working with a student, so these are going to be totally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 specifications. When you're working for a teacher, you will be also having the 5 specifications, but this ID and this ID is different. So this ID scope is going to be part of the, which is going to be student class, and this ID is going to be part of the teacher class. So I said that we are not following any specific language standards, but general notation I told you in Java, because in Python is a little bit different working with classes. That's why I'm using a Java style, Java, .NET, they will follow the style. How do you create it, guys? Very, very simple, which is going to be student S1 is equal to, which is going to be, which is going to be new student. So what is this S1 here now? The S1 is nothing but an object. It is an object which was created from a student class. So whenever I create a student one, immediately what will happen, guys? All the whatever the attribute, these are all nothing but variables. All the variables which we have been associated with the student will be automatically, it is inherited to the student one object. So S1 will contain the ID, it will contain the name, it will contain M1, M2, and M3. But how do you access them, guys? S1 dot, which is ID, is equal to 1001. S1 dot name. I'm not going to show you any practically here, guys. We don't see all these things practically. Just it is only to understand the concept only. S1 dot. If you want, I'll show you also. But you guys will be getting, some people will get confused again with the particular programming applications. S1 dot M1 equal to 80. S1 dot M2 equal to, let us say, 75. And S1 dot M3 is equal to, let us say, something like an 82. Like that, you can create as many students you can create it. Now, one more student has came. How do you define it? Again, same technique we have to follow, which is going to be something like student, which is going to be S2 is equal to nothing but it is a new student. S2 is equal to new student. Immediately, again, S2 will object will be created, and again, all the members will be again inherited to him. So ID, name, M1, M2, M3. So if you observe carefully, there is nothing conflict between one ID and another ID. It is very clearly S2.ID. It is going to be S2.name. It is going to be S2.M1. It is going to be S2.M2. Like that, everything we are going to be referencing with respect to that particular object. But what is before object-oriented programming? Before object-oriented programming, we used to have something called as a procedural language. We used to have it. We used to have a procedural language. But procedural language, we don't do like that. So we have to declare either multiple IDs. For example, if you want to work with 50 students, I have to declare 50 variables. But here it is not like that. Specification is defined only for one time. As many objects we can create it. Technically, if you talk about that, what is an object? An object is nothing but it is an instance of a class. So an instance of a class. Class is only just a specification. If you bring it to reality, it is going to be becomes an object. That's why we call it as instance of a class. So every object which is created from the same class will obviously have the same parameters as it is, or the same attribute as it is. These are nothing but normally we call it as variables. But these variables we have been binded with a class. That's why we are going to call it as attributes. So how to use the attributes, guys? It is object name dot attribute name, object name dot attribute name, object name dot attribute name. Do you want to work with the teacher object? Again, we have to work with the teacher object. Very simple. As it is going to be there, which is going to be teacher, which is going to be T1 is equal to new teacher. So now the T1 will be associated only with the specifications which we have defined in the teacher class. So what is the T1 contains now? It also contains ID. It also contains a name, but they don't contain M1, M2, M3. They will contain basic, they will contain HRA, and they will contain something like a tax. If you set T1.id, it is going to works. T1 dot which is going to be name, it is going to works. But if I set T1.m1, it does not works because there is no M1 attribute is associated with the T1 class, the T1 object. Because T1 was created from teacher class, not from the student class. Like that, do you have 100 students are there? You can work with 100 students. So the idea is very simple, guys. Define the space whenever we are working with the same type of object for multiple times, or whenever we are working with a different objects. In procedural languages like C language, we combine all of them and we define in a single specification. So there is a lot of conflict will come. There is a lot of confusion will come. But here there is nothing confusion is there. Why? Because every object is separate. Every object reference is going to be separate. Every object specification is going to be different. So here S1 is from student class, T1 is from teacher class. There is no conflict between them. We never say ID. We say S1.id, S2.id, T1.id. Complete references are completely different. So with the object reference only, we have to access them. Directly from the class reference, we cannot do that. But anyhow, because some Java professionals will be there. So Java professionals will think in a higher level. So anyhow, we don't want to go into higher level concepts. Again, there is something called as an instance members, static members. We don't want to discuss about all those things, guys. Just what is an object oriented? What is an object? What only 4 terminologies I require here, guys. One is I want to make you understand what is a class. We understood class is nothing but a specification about an object. So what is an object? I have to make you understand. An object is nothing but an instance. The physical existence of a particular object with the specification defined in the class is nothing but an object. What is an attribute? An attribute is nothing but the variables which are associated with a class. Normally, you know what is a variable? Variable is nothing but which is going to hold some data. But whenever the variable is defined within the scope of a class, then it is going to be what we are going to call it as an attribute. And one more is required, guys, that is method. That's it. These are the 4 terminologies are required, guys. If you want to understand, that means we are not trying to go deep into the object-oriented programming. Just a little bit idea about what is object, what is a class, what is a attribute, what is a method. Why you have to require all these things, we'll understand it, guys. Once you go to the Python, you will understand it. So what is a class we discussed, what is object we discussed, what is an attribute we have been discussed. So leftover is going to be what is a method is there. So if anybody, guys, who are unable to follow the today's class, if you have joined today or you have been joined in the last couple of classes, don't worry, guys. We'll understand the concept. There is nothing. Only thing is some dots are going to be unconnected here now. So because some kind of a doubts will come, so slowly we'll cover them. It's not a mandatory that you should be expertise in Python, then only you can understand the concept. We started with the basics of Python, guys. Hardly 3 days, I think I discussed. One day I have been discussed about like basic operators, arithmetic operators, relational operators, logical operators, okay, assignment operators, etc., etc. What are the basic data types? Integers, floats, strings, and which is going to be booleans. And coming to the list object, I have been discussed another 2-3 days. One class I have discussed about what is going to be the list concept, and 1 or 2 days I covered with how to get the elements of the list. There is a small important topic is that if really require, maybe on Saturday or something like that, I'll take some additional class to make you understand the concept. Okay, so this is going to be the one which we are going to be talking about that. Right. So anyhow, we'll discuss about those particular things also in the coming applications, and we are going to be discussing about that. So don't worry if you have any If you have any doubts, I'm going to clarify that, which is going to be the one which we are going to be talking about. We'll discuss about them. Don't worry. Okay. We'll discuss about those particular applications in the coming classes. We'll have a look into that. Now, so this is going to be the one which we have been discussed. Now, what is the other technique? The other concept which is left over is nothing but what we are talking about, the method. So if you want to understand, as I already discussed about that, there are some dots which are going to be unconnected as of now, because some of them are going to be too early to discuss. So obviously, without discussing, obviously, when you're learning some programming languages also, first they will teach you some topics and they say that we are going to discuss more details in the coming classes. Same here also. I'm going to discuss some concepts now. I'm going to discuss more details in the coming classes. We'll have a look into that. Examples are going to be, the next concept which we have to study is functions. Okay, generally we all of you have an idea about who are into the programming part. They knows about this functions concept, guys. Even that means to understand a concept of function, you need not to be only a programmer. Even normally in mathematics, you have a functions concept is there. So we generally know it now, guys. What is f of x? F of x is going to be nothing but a function which is going to be defined as, let us say, x square plus 2x plus 1. Now, if I say what is f of 1? F of 1 is going to be nothing but it is 1 square plus 2 into 1 plus 1, which is going to be 2 plus 1 plus 1, which is going to be given as a 4 is the result. Isn't it? So normally in mathematics, we have it. Even if we are using some kind of an Excel, also, I'm saying that functions are only part of only a programming part. Everywhere it was there. In maths, it was there. Okay. Even the people who are working with Excel sheets also, you will be having a lot of functions will be there, guys, right? You will be really having a lot of functions we are going to be having, isn't it? So whenever we want to define, so we are having some functions equal to, for example, some functions will be there, guys. See, guys, these are all going to be nothing but the functions only, right? Which is going to be SIGN sign, SIN sign. It is going to be sin H, or if you want to go for which is going to be, see there, radians is there, rand is there, random array is there. Okay, and something like range between, which is going to be something called as a rank average, and rank which is going to be equal, rate, something we are having the functions, isn't it? So even if you have been working with a little bit advanced Excel also, maybe if you are basic Excel users, that is a different case. But if you are even using some kind of an advanced Excel, see there, sum, I want to do some kind of a sum. So like that, sum of which is going to be from where to where you want to use, we can use some kind of a techniques we are going to use this. Sum of, this is a function what we are going to be using, guys, isn't it? So where to start and where to end, that is what we are going to write it. Maybe something we are going to write it as sum of which is going to be S1 or A1, something we are going to write it. Not discussing about those things, but just I'm telling about like how we are going to be gets working with that, isn't it? So something like that, we are going to be gets working this kind of a functions what we are going to be using, guys, isn't it? So just see, I have written something like a function. So 10, 20, 30, it is going to be 40. So I written everything by using functionality only, guys, 50. So let us say that it is going to be 60. So whatever the sum of all these numbers, it is printing at the top 210. But after that, if I add the 70, it is not going to do that. Why? Because we are adding only the values from which is going to be A2 to only A7 only we have been got written. A8 is not going to be included. The sum of these particular numbers only it is calculating. Yes, it is a function. It is absolutely a function only. You can see sum of which is going to be A2 is to A7. The sum is going to be a function what we are going to be talking about that. So like that, it's a generalized concept. I'm not talking only about a programming language. Anywhere we are going to be having the functions. But anyhow, in our coming classes also, we are going to be having a little bit more and more discussion about this functions concept. Almost all we are going to spend 2 to 3 classes specifically on the functions concept. And that too in Python, functions are very important for us, guys, because working with Python is all about working with these functions only, guys. It's not going to be something different, guys. It is going to be working with Python is going to be all about working with functions concept only. With functions only, we are going to work with them, guys. Throughout the Python, everything we are going to do with the help of a function only, we are going to do that. Nothing we are going to do that. I already discussed in the introduction classes of Python. So learning Python means just we have to call the function. For every functionality you want to perform, there will be a function will be there. Just call the function, that is sufficient. So that's why I'm saying that functions are going to be too important for us. In our coming classes, we discuss. But just for the timing, what is a function? A function is nothing but we can say, it is just, I can say that it is a piece of code. It is a piece of code, or I can say a simple subset, what we can say that a piece of code, which is basically used for reusability purpose. A piece of code, which is basically used for reusability purpose. So I write some code. I want to perform the operation for repeated number of times. So instead of writing the same code for repeated number of times, what we can do is you just write the code only just for one time, and you can call the functions as many times you can call it. It is going to be as many times we can call it. Okay, that is what we are going to call it as. That is what we are going to call it as a function. So give some name. Give some name. We'll discuss a little bit more about the functions in the later classes. Just for an example, guys, just for an example. I want to find out what is the total marks obtained by the student one. How to calculate the total marks obtained by the student one here? Total marks is equal to, we have to say S1 dot it is M1 plus S1 dot it is M2 plus which is going to be S1 dot M3. Just I'm not taking a too complicated example. Just it is an addition of three numbers. But here I'm finding only the total marks obtained by only for the student one. Same example, if you want to do it for student two also, what we have to do again, S2 dot M1 plus S2 dot M2 plus S2 dot which is going to be M3. Like that for every student we have to calculate. For example, 50 student is there, S50 dot M1 plus S50 dot which is M2 plus S50 dot which is going to be M3. Like that, you can just calculate all these kind of an applications. We can do that. So that is an idea, guys. I didn't take any complex example. I just taken a very simple example, addition of three numbers. But you are performing the same addition of three numbers. You are performing the addition of the same three numbers for every student we are doing. If 100 students are there, 100 times. 1000 students are there, 1000 times we have to write the calculation. M1 plus M2 plus F3. But we are repeating the same operation every time. Marks may be different, but it is performing the summation of three numbers. The operation is the same operation. But for teacher, whenever it comes to the teacher example, if you want to find out what is the total salary I have to pay, what is the total salary here now? It is going to be something like what is the basic salary plus what is going to be HRA. It is not plus tax, it is minus tax. It is addition of two numbers and subtraction of one number is going to be the tax. Same thing I have to do it for every student. If there are 50 teachers are there, I have to do the same operation for 50 times. Maybe T1 dot basic, T1 dot HRA minus T1 dot tax. Same thing for another teacher. If you want to do T2 dot, we have to say basic plus which is going to be T2 dot HRA plus minus which is going to be T2 dot which is going to be tax. Like that, we have to calculate for every student, we have to calculate it. And for every teacher, we have to calculate it. So instead of doing like this, we want to convert this into a function concept. We want to convert this into a function concept. You can define a function. I'm not writing any specific code here. We can define a function. But whenever you define a function, where to define the function? Either within the class or outside the class. So if I define outside the class, it becomes a general functionality. Anybody can use it for finding the sum of the three numbers. That's why what we are going to do is the same function I'm going to define within the class, guys. Like once again, I'm defining class, which is going to be student. Okay. And something like I define ID, name, M1, M2, M3. Now within the student class, I will define a function called as, which is going to be find total. Just an example, guys. I'm not writing the correct syntax, guys. I'm just writing a general syntax only. So don't get a doubt saying that, sir, this is not the syntax of how to write it. So it is find total. No need to pass any arguments. Why? Because Find total ID, name, M1, M2, M3. All of them are under the class of student. So being under, all of these are going to be under one scope. These can automatically access these variables. If you do the same thing outside the class, it cannot identify these ones. So advantage of object oriented is also we are limiting the scope of them, accessibility. You are going to work only under this particular attribute, only under this particular class only we are going to work. You are not going to work outside this class. We are going to work only with that particular class only we are going to be gets working. Only in that particular class only we are going to be gets working as we are not going to work outside the class. So what is find total is going to do? It is going to return M1 plus M2 plus which is going to be M3. No need to say again T1.M1, T2.M1 or S1.M1. We need not to write. Why? Because we are defining within the class. Later we discuss it. We'll discuss a little bit more about them. So what happened here is, guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 are nothing but attributes. What are attributes? Attributes are nothing but just the variables which are defined within a class. This is nothing but a function. Actually, syntax is a little bit different, guys. Like I'll write like this. Integer, which is find total, which is going to returns M1 plus M2 plus M3. What is this? This is a function. This is actually a function, guys. But whenever I write a function within a class, this is nothing but what we are going to call it as a method. Nothing difference is, guys. Attributes are nothing but the variables and methods are going to be nothing but there are functions. If I define the same example outside the class, it is called as a function. If the same function, if I define outside the class, it is called as a function. What is the general concept of function? Anybody can use it. It can be used with any object we can use. We can use it for any purpose we can use. For addition of 3 numbers, we can use it. But here it is not like that. Find total is only to find out only sum of the marks of a particular student. Using this, you cannot perform any other operations because we are limiting the scope. You are under the student. You have to work only with these variables only. You have to work. You cannot work with any kind of an attributes. We cannot work. If you define the same thing, if I write outside the class, you can use it for any addition of any 3 numbers. It may be marks of the 3 students, or it may be some anything, or it can be what is the total amount that a customer has to pay at a shop. It can be any total, sum of any 3 numbers, we can do that. But here it is not just a sum of any 3 numbers. It is only just calculating sum of the marks obtained by a particular student. Same as it is, I have another class is there, which is going to be class, which is a teacher class. So in this case, for example, ID, name, again, same technique, which is M1, M2, and which is going to be M3. Sorry, it is not M1, M2, M3, right? It is going to be, we are having something like what is the basic salary, what is going to be HRA, and what is going to be tax. Here also, we want to calculate find total, but this find total is different. And one more thing, if I want to do some of these 3 numbers also, let us say that actually we should not add the 3 numbers, we have to subtract the tax. But even if you want to add the basic HRA plus tax also, I cannot use this find total function because find total is only within the scope of student. And here we have to define a one more. So integer, here also I'll define a find total, guys, but this find total is different. What it is going to return? It is going to return basic plus HRA minus tax. Even if it is plus tax also, I can't use this function. Why? Because this is under the scope of student. This is under the scope of teacher. This find total can access only the variables which we have been defined in the same class. This is another class. This cannot access these members. This cannot access these members. There is some accessibility is there. We have something like a private members, public members, protected members. That we are not going into the discussion, guys. Okay, that's what specifically what I'm saying is some Java programmers will raise a question saying that, sir, I can access like that whenever I work with something like an protected or something like a public or something like that, I can access. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking in a general way. So whatever the members that are defined in the teacher class cannot access the members of the student class. And whatever the members of the student class is there, they cannot access from the teacher class. That means we are just limiting the scope. You can work only under this scope only you can work. You can work only under this particular scope only you can work. So that is what the object oriented says. So the function which is going to be written inside the class is nothing but what we are going to call it as a method, guys. That is called as a method. That's it. Now, how to call the method, guys? Same technique. What we have to do? Student, simple guys. Student S1 is equal to new student. So whenever we have been created a new object called as an S1, now S1 is going to be associated with some attributes, and apart from that, it is also associated with one method also. It is going to be find total. It's a method, guys. It is a method, and these are going to be nothing but the attributes. These are nothing but attributes, guys. Now see how to access them. A very, very simple technique, guys. What I'm going to do now. S1.id equal to, let us say 1001. S1.name, let us say that it is going to be, let us say Vamsi, my name. And after that, S1.m1 is equal to 80. S1.m2 is equal to, let us say something like a 75. And S1.m3 is equal to something like an 82. Now I want to find the three totals. I want to find the total of these marks. No need to write any M1 plus M2 plus M3, guys. Simple. S1 dot find total. No need to write anything also. S1 dot find total. This find total, you may get a doubt also. Sir, you didn't specify to whom find total it is. Clearly we specified, guys. S1 dot find total. What is this find total will do? Within the scope of that particular object only it will works. It is only within the scope of that object only it will works. What it is returning? M1 plus M2 plus M3 means you have to access the object. Only that object references only we have to access. Indirectly, it is S1.M1, S1.M2 plus S1.M3. So it is going to be something like 80, whatever it may be. I think the result is going to be 7. 16 plus 7, which is 23. 237 is the total what we are going to get it. Same thing, we have another object is there, S2. Yes, again, same technique. Again, same technique, guys. I'm not writing again all of them. So how do you calculate the total? It is S2 dot, which is going to be find total. So depending on S2 dot M1, depending on S2 dot M2, and depending on S2 dot M3 only, it is going to work. It does not work with any other reference object. Same as it is, do you have T1? T1 is nothing but an object from teacher object. So here also we have an ID, we have a name, we have a something like an basic, and we are having HRA, and we are having a TA or tax is there. And apart from that, we are also having a find total. But here, whenever we set find total, T1 dot find total, if I say what it is going to returns, it is going to does not return sum of three numbers. Whatever the T1 dot HRA is there, plus T1 dot what is going to be the whatever the basic is there, minus which is going to be T1 dot what is the tax is there. See, guys, it is going to be, we are binding it. We are binding it. This find total should work only with the T1 object. This find total is different. This find total is different. This find total is different. This find total will works only under the scope of student object. This find total will works only under the scope of the teacher object. This find total will only calculate some of the marks obtained only by that particular student. And this is going to be some of the whatever the values we have been given. So HRA plus basic minus which is going to be tax. So this is nothing but what we are going to call it as method. So finally, whether you have been able to understand this concept or not, that is put it aside, guys. Even if you don't understand it also, it is not a matter. The only thing you have to understand is whenever I created an object, the object is going to be referenced by some of them. The object will have some attributes and the object is going to be having some, which is going to be methods. How do you access an object? How do you access an attribute? And how do you access a method? Very simple, guys. object name dot the attribute name. That's it, guys. Object name dot attribute. How do you access the method? It is object name dot. We have to say method, and there is some parentheses. Sometimes there is some arguments also will be there. I'll discuss about these arguments later, guys. Arguments are nothing but some inputs. We have to pass some inputs to them. Then only that is going to work. But every function, every method may have the arguments, and every function may not have the arguments, guys. It may be there or it may not be there. It does not matter. Okay. So that is basically the concept which we have to understand regarding this particular concept called as the classes concept. We have to understand it. Apart from that, nothing is there in the concept, guys. So what is a class? What is an object? What is an attribute? And what is a method? That's it. So anyhow, I hope all of you are able to understand the concept. Practically, you'll understand, guys. Practically, you'll understand it. Still, if you have any confusion, so maybe if you are not from any programmatical background, if you don't have any idea about object oriented, I'll tell you some references, guys. I will tell you the references. So if you want, you can go through that. I think all of you have the idea about that. It is nothing but the W3 schools. You can just go to the w3schools.com. Here we are having something called as an Python is there. You can also learn tutorials. We can also have something called as an learn, which is going to be Python is there. You can go to the Python, but I recommend instead of going to the Python, I recommend to go for Java. Because the Java is going to be, I'll show you. Even I'll show you Java, I'll show you the Python also. See there, it is going to be learn Java. So I'm not asking you to learn the Java here. My requirement is not to make you to learn Java. I don't require all these things, guys. If you see this, these 4 pages is required for me, guys. That's it. Only these 4 topics only I require, guys. Even constructors, that is going to be something different. If you want to learn it, it's not required. I told you know, which is going to be some kind of an modifiers. Like we have a public, private, we have a different modifiers. We don't want to require them, guys. See, guys, we are having a different types of, we are having something called as the axis modifiers and non-axis modifiers. We have them. So I don't want to make you confused with all these things. I don't require all these things to make you understand them. Leave it. Only these concepts, guys. What is object oriented? So some of the features I have been got discussed, guys. Some of the features we discussed. One thing, OOPS, that is object oriented, provides a clear structure for the program. As we already seen that very clearly, we have defined the structure. This is this class. This is this class. This is this class. These are the attributes. These are the methods. Object oriented programming helps to keep the Java code dry. What is going to be Java? Dry stands for don't repeat yourself, and makes the code easier to maintain, modify, and which is going to be debug. OOPS makes it possible to create fully reusable applications with less code and which is going to be shorter, which is development time. Technically, there may be some advantages, guys. We are not talking about technical advantages. Just we are only talking about just a basic, the programmatical structures we are talking about that. OOPS is faster and easier to execute. That is, leave it, does not matter. But main thing is, clear structures for the program. OOPS helps to keep the Java code, which is going to be dry. Do not repeat yourself. So that's it, guys. A class called as a fruit class, a different objects, apple, banana, mango. Every object will have some properties like color. What is the color of apple? Let us say that it is red. What is color of banana? Maybe something like a green. What is mango? Which is going to be yellow. Same as it is, we have a different classes are there. So every car is going to be having some kind of a color. So the Audi is going to be one object, a Toyota is going to be one object, or Volvo is going to be another object. So these are all objects which are created from a class called as a car class. Very simple. A class is a template for an object. As I told you, an object is an instance of a class. When an individual object is created, then inherit all the variables and methods from a class. What is that? What is a method? What is a class? What is an attribute? See there, Java classes and objects. Okay, classes and object, just to understand the concept, nothing different. I'm not asking you to make any programming part here. No, you don't require it, guys. You don't really require. If you just want to study, you can install Java or something like that. You can study this. Otherwise, not required. What is an attribute? An attribute is nothing but just like a variable. Whenever you define a variable inside a class, it is going to be an attribute. What is an attribute? A variable which holds some value. It is actually an attribute of the class, or you can say that class attributes are nothing but variables within a class. We are just restricting the scope. You can work only under this particular class only. That is what we are going to call it as an attribute. What is a method? Method is nothing but a function. That's it, guys. A method is going to be nothing but a function. Simple to say that a method is nothing but a function where we have been defined within a particular class. We have to do. I told you also static versus public. These requirements are not required for us. Okay, again, if you go there is something a different discussions will come again. That's why leave it for the timing. Does not matter with that. So what is a method? Method is nothing but simply we can say that it is a function. Whenever we have defined within a class, it is going to be what we are going to call it as a function, guys. That's it. Okay. So that is going to be all about this particular basic idea about object oriented. Only just a 2 classes, guys. Even I didn't taken any much 2 classes also. Last day I have taken half an hour of time. Today also almost all I have taken only half an hour of time. 2 topics only have been discussed. One is nothing but attribute and other one is going to be nothing but method. Then the main question here is why we have been, even if you want, okay, even you can also go to Python also. Even Python concept is also same, guys. Nothing difference is there. In Python also we have the same technique, guys. We are having something called as an classes and going to be objects. We have it. Classes and which is going to be nothing but the objects what we are going to be having. Just give me a second, right? Yeah. You can see here, guys. In Python, we can see this. What is going to be nothing but we are having classes and which is going to be the objects, what we are going to be having them. You can go there. Same technique. Nothing difference is there. Definition is the same. But you will be getting confused with this because we are still in the basics of Python. You are not aware about that. And you don't know how to create an object in Python also. That's the reason. Please avoid them. Please avoid them. What are going to be object methods are going to be there. We know that. And what is going to be the attributes, what we are talking about. Okay, so don't worry about them. Later, we are going to see all that kind of an applications. We'll see that later. Okay, fine, guys. So why we are discussing about all these things? Why we are discussing about all these things? And one more thing, guys, just a very simple technique who has been joined in the last couple of classes. I already discussed about how to install the Python. It's not a big installation, guys. Okay. Just quickly, I'll tell you how to install the Python in the case if you have don't have the Python in your system. Just very simple, guys. Go to python.org. Go to python.org. Depending on your operating system, you can install whatever the options you require, which is going to be the Windows, or if you are using anybody is using Mac, you can use the Mac operating system, or we are using some other Linux or any other operating systems. I think most of you are using Windows only. So just go to the Windows Python 3.11.4. A very small file, guys. It won't take even 2 seconds of time to install. Just 2 to 3 seconds of time to download. Maybe hardly 2 minutes to install. Because in my system, it was already installed. So I'm not doing any changes here. But you just download it, guys, and just double click on that, install it. Just it takes not even 2 minutes of time. Next process only, nothing to do, install it, guys. Once if it is installed, you will be getting the option like this, guys. I'll show you once, have a look into that. So the people who has been joined in today's class, if you see that, there is going to be Python 3.11. There we are going to be having, we are still working with the basic concepts only, guys. So there is one IDE called as an idle is there. Just click on the idle, open the idle. That's it. This is where I'm going to be working with the Python initially. Later, we are going to work with the different IDEs. It's a very simple, like a console application. No need to write any programs like other programming languages. We don't compile the program. We are not going to compile it, and we are not going to do anything, guys. Simply what we are going to do is just any kind of an option you can do. Slowly you can understand it, guys. Very simple. X is equal to 10. Y is equal to, let us say, 20.45. 20.45. Just you can assign the variables, guys. Python is a dynamically typed language. No declaration of variable is required. Next, if you want, we can say A equal to, which is going to be hello. And something like I can say B equal to, which is going to be something like a true. It's a case sensitive. you have to write the same case what I explained. C equal to which is false. It's a title case. Remaining any case you write it, but does not matter. Print it, guys. X, Y, A, B, C. All of them you can print it in a single line. So like other programming languages, you don't require any print statement. That is also there. If you want, that also we can do, guys. Print X, comma, Y, comma, A, comma, B, comma, C. Generally, in other languages, we don't have this simple option to print it. We don't have that much simple option to print it, guys. We have to write in Python. If you in C language, if you see print percentile D, printf percentile D, percentile S, something we have to specify, the type specifier. Here it is nothing required, guys. Print X, Y, A, B, C. Just put a comma. You can print as many you can print it. So these are the basic things only I discussed it, guys. Only thing I discussed is what is going to be a list. What is going to be a list? List is nothing but just a collection of values. It can be homogeneous or it can be heterogeneous. So let us say that I'm defining some person 1 equal to, what is the name? Vamsi. What is the gender? Let us say that the gender is, let us say, male. The gender is male. What is the city? Let us say it is Hyderabad. What is going to be the, let us say, some contact number, some number. All the variables in a single variable are defined it, guys. That is what I'm going to call it as a list. That is what I'm going to call it as a list. I have been called it as. Apart from that, nothing is there. What is integers? What is float? What is a boolean? They will handle only single value. This can handle multiple values. That's it. These are some of the things I discussed. Actually, what is the next thing we have to discuss is whenever I said %1 dot, see there, whenever I press the tab key, there are going to be some dot notations are coming. What are these? What is this append? What is this clear? What is this copy? What is this count? Actually, we want to discuss about these topics, guys. What are those? They are nothing but methods. They are nothing but the methods. So to want to understand what is a method, so we have been discussed about these concepts. Okay. Now coming to the discussion, why we have been discussed about object oriented. For example, I say, what is going to be type of which is X? Type is a function, guys. What is the type of the X? I'm asking, X is what type? Python chooses the data type. It is integer. But whenever I say type of integer, what is the type of X? It is saying that it is class integer. It is saying that it is class integer. It is saying, guys. Pragati, yes, you will be having on Saturdays. Only maybe 1 or 2 Saturdays we may not have the classes sometimes, but regularly we'll be having the Saturdays classes, Pragati. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let us discuss about this. So what is this class? What is this class? Why it is saying that it is a class? Why? Because. So why it is not saying data type? Why it is not saying that it is a data type? When I say type of the I, it is saying that it is a class integer. Why? Because is, guys. Why? Because is, in Python, every variable you create is an object. Actually, we are saying X equal to 10. So we simply say that according to other programming languages, we say that X is a variable. X is a variable containing a value of 10. But in Python, every variable you create is not a variable. It is actually an object. What it is, guys? It is an object. Every object is defined from a class. Every object is going to be defined from a class. So in Python, already there is a predefined class called as an integer class. Integer is not a data type, guys. Integer is a class. Float is a class. So whenever I said float, float is a class. Everything is a class only, guys. There is no data types concept in Python. We are going to be saying class, which is going to be str. We are having some attributes and we have some methods. We are having a class called as an list class which is going to be list. These are all predefined classes in Python. We don't define, guys. Like a teacher and student is basically for business perspective. That means whenever we are working for the application, we are using this. But what is this int class? What is this float class? What is a string class? What is a list class? These are all predefined classes. So whenever I said a equal to 10, so let me tell you, guys, whenever I said a equal to 10, what happened internally? We are thinking that just a is a variable which is holding a value of 10. No, guys. Internally, what is happening here is int a is equal to new int. That means here a is an object which is defined from a class called as an integer class. Int is nothing but a class, guys. So you know what will happen now? When I told you, whenever I said student S1 equal to new student, automatically all the methods and attributes which are associated will be inherited to this particular object. So what are the different methods are there? What are the different attributes you define there? All these things are going to be referenced to this particular A. Same as it is whenever I said X is equal to, I said 10, 20, 30, 40. Simply we are saying that X is a list of X is a list. But internally, what is happening? Internally, it is list X is equal to nothing but it is a new list. X in list X is equal to a new list. So X is an object now, guys. So now whatever the list methods, the list is containing a different methods. The list is going to contain a different attributes. All these are going to be associated or inherited to this X. And already we discussed how to access the attributes. X dot, what is the name of the attribute? What is going to be how to use a method? It is X dot method. If you created Y object, if I create an object Y, then we have to represent as Y dot attribute. We have to say Y dot method. This is the way which we have to use it. Whenever we are working with A object, then we have to say A dot, which is going to be method. What is method? It has to written like this, guys, with parentheses. Whenever it is an attribute, we have to write A dot attribute. So every object you create, in Python is created from a class, guys. So up to now, whatever we have been seen, integer is a class, float is a class, bool is a class, string is a class. Even we also discussed about something, it's not mandatory to use, but I have just explained that. Complex is also class. Even list is also class. Like not only this, even tomorrow we are discussing about in coming classes, tuple, sets, dictionaries, frozen sets, everything, guys. Frozen sets, apart from that range, all these are going to be comes under the classes only. These are all predefined classes, guys. None of the class need to be defined by yourself. There are going to be predefined classes are there. Python already defined. Whenever I create an object, just we say that A equal to or X equal to something like a hello. So immediately it will identify to represent this hello, which class is required. I require a string class. So immediately internally what happens? str X is equal to, or I'll say S here. Str S is equal to nothing but it is going to be new str. So immediately S is associated with all the methods which are going to be associated with the string class. Whatever the methods, whatever the attributes that are defined in the string class, immediately they are going to be inherited to the S. How do you access it? S dot, I'll just telling some few methods, guys. S dot upper, S dot lower. This is a notation we have to use. This is object-oriented style of programming. But what about non-object-oriented style of programming, guys? They are not associated with them. They say like this, guys, upper of S, upper of something like X, or something like upper of which is going to be something like a Y. Generally, this is non-object-oriented style of programming, guys. We write it generally upper of S. It will convert the S into uppercase. It will convert the X into uppercase. It will convert the Y into uppercase. But object-oriented programming style will be like this, guys. If it is S dot upper, if it is X, it is going to be X dot upper. If it is Y, it is going to be Y dot upper. So with the object reference only, we have to perform that. No need to write upper of S, upper of X, upper of Y. S dot upper, X dot upper, Y dot upper. This is a notation. We have to use it. Okay, don't worry. It is only just to understand the concept only have been got discussed. So anyhow, we'll see all that example practically in details only. I'll explain the concept. If anybody is there who do not have any idea about programming language or object oriented also, what is a class? What is an attribute? What is a method? If you understand that, that is sufficient. So in Python, everything is an object. Everything is an object. Whenever I create an object, every object will be created from a class. That is the reason whenever I said what is a type, it is clearly saying that it is a class. See there? type of, observe, open the parenthesis, guys. What it is telling that type of, the input is not a value. The input is not a variable. The input is an object. Type of object, what it is going to return, the object's type it is going to return. Object type means which is nothing but an what class it belongs to. That's why whenever I said which is going to be type of any variable you say, any object you say, it is saying that it's a class string. What is going to be type of B? It is going to be a class called as a bool. What is going to be type of something like an Y? Y is going to be nothing but it is a float. Everything it is saying that it is going to be nothing but a class. Why it is saying it's a class? Because is all these are the predefined classes. Don't think that we didn't created these classes. All these classes are predefined, guys. They're already built in. You can say there are built-in classes. Python by default comes with all these classes. Whenever we create an object, immediately the object is created from the particular class. That is the basically the idea of the object-oriented style of programming. So not yet done, guys. Tomorrow, first I'll show you some basic concepts of object-oriented, and then I'll go to the concepts of what is the name of the list. List name is there, guys. Person one dot. Then we'll discuss about all these kind of methods, guys. Who are already having the idea about object-oriented, for them it is very easy to understand. For the people who are not having the idea about object-oriented, a little bit practice is required, guys. A little bit practice is going to be required for them. Okay. So that is going to be the idea of what is going to be object-oriented. So just for today, we'll end up the session for today, guys, and we'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Okay. And one more thing is just as I said that, no, so previously just not that much important classes, hardly 3-4 classes are there, guys. You have seen, no, guys, how easy it is. I didn't done anything. Only slicing is the only technique you have to learn it, guys. There's a small topic called as a slicing. Anybody can learn it, but my teaching is different. I'll tell you a lot of tips and tricks. I'll tell you easy to understand, which I have been able to understand that. So I'll explain all these things. So my teaching is a little bit different. You can also learn. I can tell you, just go there and learn from the, or I can share you some videos, but go through my classes. You will get understanding about like what exactly the slicing technique is there. Don't worry. As of now, it is not required. With 1 or 2 classes, again, we'll repeat that particular topics once again. So once again, guys, so the guys who has been joined in the last week, you can just continue the classes as usually without having any break. But the people who are joined in the yesterday or the today's class or in the this week, Monday or Tuesday or today's class, there may be some kind of topics which are missing for you. So my team is going to share you the recording videos once if you have registered for the course. I think you can also get the demo videos also. You can just go through the demo videos and you can get some clarity about like what are the concepts we are going to discuss. You have seen, right, how I'm explaining the concept. Same in detail topics only we'll be having in the coming classes also. So conceptual wise, you need not to worry. Only thing is you have to spend some time. More time you have to spend it. So already I told you like how many hours you have to sit, how many hours you have to practice. 1 hour class every day, guys. At least 1 hour practice for yourself, and 1 hour class, 1 hour is for basically for research. Almost all, if you at least if we can spend 3 days or three hours per a day or 3.5 hours per a day, you can become a little bit more and more expert on this particular data science. And I told you there are a lot of references I'm going to share you. You have to read the blogs. You have to do some kind of an certification programs. You have to do free certification programs. I'll tell you like when to do them. I'll tell you. I know like at what time if you start, at what time you will complete off, and when it is required, I'll make you understand the concepts. Okay, so that is all about the discussions. Anyhow, yesterday I was unable to take up some questions due to some technical issue like in internet connectivity. So if you have any questions, guys, I can give you 10-15 minutes of time. If anybody wants to leave, you can leave, guys. If you have any questions, you can just play. You can stay here and you can do it, guys. You can ask the questions. Yes, yeah, I'll give you practice reference. I'll give you. I have not yet started that much with practical this one, right? So just wait for another, just up to the end of this week. If you do that, then I can give you some practice sessions. I'm going to give you, because we are still in the beginning concepts, right? Immediately, I cannot give you some any practice. Just wait for, because everything has to be settled down. We have to create a WhatsApp group, has to be created. The drive should be updated with some notes and all these things. Then you can get the access to them. Then you can start practicing. It's python.org. It's python.org, Giri Prasad.
Okay.
Okay, just you can go to the python.org and from there you can just download it. There is nothing. It's a python.org, www.python.org. Just go to the downloads, Windows, and just you can download directly. Python, you can download it. Very small file, 25 MB file will be there. Right? Yeah, guys. Yeah. If anybody having any questions, guys, I can spend 5-10 minutes if you have any further questions. Yesterday, I was unable to take your questions yesterday. Even if anybody has been joined for today's class, if you have any questions, feel free to discuss with me, guys. Anyone? I think for everyone, it was fine. Okay, guys, we'll end up the session for today. I think nobody is having any questions from your side. So even I told you about, if you have any questions, guys, you can feel free to contact me. I'll give my contact number also. Just I'm sharing my number. Anyhow, we'll create a group also in the later. For the timing, if you have any questions, guys, you can just reach me on my contact number. You can just text me on the WhatsApp so that I can reply you guys. So I already shared with every number. Everyone I have been shared with my number. So you can just, if you have any further questions or any clarifications, so regarding the course or anything, feel free to reach me on the WhatsApp number, guys. Okay, text me, I will reply you. Okay, so thanks all of you for today, guys. So tomorrow, same time at 8 o'clock, I'm going to see you tomorrow with the same time and the same link, guys. Thanks all of you, guys.